post-op back pain along with fever or constitutional symptoms, some wound discharge, reddening of the wound. So these cases do have very severe or gradually progressive back pain. If detected by the physiotherapist, they should immediately send him back to the surgeon who has operated, and they would do the needful. Post laminectomy, if you remove too much of the lamina, then there is an instability which develops. Yesterday I did explain to you what is a sign, what are the signs of some mechanical instability in the spine. So if those symptoms are present and if there is a iatrogenic instability created due to laminectomy, then these patients do require fixation, and he should be sent back to the surgeon who has operated. Any severe back pain or any back pain which is out of proportion and very uncomfortable for the patient should be handled by the surgeon who has operated, and they should look into what is the cause. One of the other causes is, which is very common, and I would like all of you to know, you might have seen that if it's a last mobile segment, like let's say L4-5 is the last mobile segment, the L5 is fused, like L5 is sacralized, or if L5S1 is the last mobile segment and fixation of that segment has been done, then invariably these patients have some kind of sacroiliac joint pain, because the last mobile segment is where a lot of movement of the spine is occurring, and when that is fused, that stress is transferred to the SI joint, and the patient may have a very prolonged duration of low back pain or radiating pain at times because it's the sacroiliac joint. I have had patients with a last segment fixation who have got these kinds of pain. They might last for a few months, even a year or so. They do get better with some exercises, core strengthening, and sometimes they require SI joint steroid blocks, which does give them good relief from the pain. Again, one of the other causes is worsening of deformity or some sagittal or coronal imbalance post fixation in some patients. If the fixation has not included the entire curvature, if it is stopped in the middle of the curvature, they might have worsening of the curvature and then they will develop back pain. So these are issues to be handled by the spine surgeon. In short, a wrong surgery has been done. If the deformity has worsened, or if the sagittal or coronal balance is not good, the surgery has, there has been something which has been missed, or the surgery is a bit wrong judgment on part of the surgeon. So he might have to extend the fixation in these cases. So these cases you have to refer back to the surgeon who has operated, or maybe a second opinion. Then there is a condition called as the adjacent segment degeneration, or ASD. So even if I have done a good fixation in the lumbar or the cervical spine, let's say L4-5 I have fixed, the patient might come to you or to me after some time, let's say 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. Sometimes they might develop an adjacent segment degeneration. So when the movement at L4, L5 has been stopped due to fixation, then the L3-4 or the L5-S1 level might develop excessive degeneration, because the stopped movement at L4-5 has been compensated by the adjacent segments. Then they might have just a back pain due to degeneration, or sometimes even a disc herniation might occur at the adjacent level. So this is what is known as a adjacent segment degeneration. They might give rise to low back pain even few months or years after the primary surgery. Again, another cause for post-op low back pain after some time is implant loosening or pull out due to either infection, either due to some weakening the osteoporotic bones, or sometimes if the biomechanics of the fixation are not good, then the implant might loosen or break or pull out, and this can give rise to some kind of low back pain, which again has to be tackled by the surgeon. Now, yesterday I had discussed with you one example of how a physiotherapist can play a crucial part in the rehabilitation. So this case I had shown of a young lady who had this fracture, and a physiotherapist in Pune is right now taking care of this lady and giving good rehab. I think I told you the name yesterday, Gajanan, and he is doing an extremely good job, and the lady is doing extremely well. So I thought of showing you how efficiently the physiotherapy has been managed. So today morning, I messaged this lady to send me her videos of her rehab, and she is in quite advanced stage of rehabilitation. So mind you, this is the fixation, and this lady has absolutely no power, absolutely grade zero power in her lower limbs, no bowel bladder control, no recovery. She's 6 or more months post-op, and I would like to show you her recent video, which has shown her walking. You can see what a great job has been done here. Now remember, she has got absolutely no power in the lower limb. And all I could do was only stabilize her spine. That's all. I could not have made her walk like this. So this is your job, guys. So this is a very excellent post-op rehab. And still in this period of lockdown, this lady still goes to the physiotherapist, and every day she does these. She's an extremely hardworking lady, very motivated. That's how efficient the physiotherapy can be and what role it can play. You all might have known this. So all I did was this fixation. And then all the rehab part, the physiotherapist has been working very hard. He has got all the recent equipments, and he has trained her core muscles, and with some brace support for a paraplegic to be able to be up on her own feet. It's a big achievement for her. Like, she's extremely happy with the level of care she has received. So summarizing all this, what I need to tell you that we need to change the way physiotherapists think, the way they are looked upon, and you need to change that. And we need to develop and follow some protocols for rehabilitation of post-op patients. I guess these protocols will depend on the surgeon with whom you are working. If you don't know what is required, you should call up or message the surgeon, ask them, what do you need me to do exactly, what is the status of your fixation, and can I do these XYZ things? And then accordingly, you should develop your protocols and follow them very strictly. These days, in let it be a knee replacement, hip replacement, spine surgery, shoulder surgery, aggressive rehabilitation is the trend. So everywhere we want the patient to be up and about doing his activities. For a sports player, we need the player to get back on his feet and start his activity as soon as possible. So even for spine, I had this our national level, I think number one. She was number one, 18-year-old, 18 or 20, I think 20 or 22-year-old girl who was a national level number one cyclist for India. And she had a long duration of disc herniation, which was causing her a lot of pain, and uh, she couldn't take part in her competitions, and her training was affected. So I just did a simple L5S1 decompression, and I couldn't believe myself that she was able to get back on her feet and go home within 24 hours of surgery. She was so motivated, she was so fit that the surgery didn't affect her at all. She could get back on her feet within a day, and she was ready for discharge within 24 hours. So that's as fast they could go back home and be back on their feet after spine surgery. And she got back to her training within around 6 weeks or so. She could again start her cycling training. So aggressive rehabilitation is the trend these days. We should always remember that patient well-being is the center of all our efforts, and teamwork. If we can do teamwork, then together we can work magic. So I would like to quote here that individual talents get magnified many times over through the collective lens of an effective team. So teamwork is extremely important, and we all should work together for the patient's well-being so that they are back to their normal life as soon as possible. So I'd like to thank you all for attending these 3 webinars. And I would like, so this is my sort of e-visiting card, which would be shared with all of you. There's a link here where it's written click here, and the patient can click there and come to my consulting room. There's a number there for appointment 8928623232. So that number is for our receptionist who takes calls and give appointments, as well as there is my number below there, which is for appointment. It's not my personal number, so you don't have to worry. So this number 915-888-2262 is my professional number. So anyone of you or your patients, you can share this number with your patients, and they can talk to me or WhatsApp me their reports, and I can give them a teleconsultation, or even small queries I can solve just on WhatsApp. So that number is available and it will be shared with all of you. Now, like every day, I would like to invite questions regarding these webinars. Like Prerak told me, we have made some certificates for these 3 webinar series, which will be sent to you shortly. It has been signed by us, and all the topics we discussed in 3 days have been written there. So these certificates have been prepared very well by Prerak and his team, and they will be sent to you so that you will have them to show. And the money which has been taken for these webinars, I think they have charged 100 rupees per webinar. So we plan to use this money for the coronavirus patients, which is rampant in the society now, and there are a lot of patients who are not affording the treatment. So we are planning to donate all these money collected from the webinars to Sassoon Hospital, which is a government hospital here in Pune. And there is a lot of chaos there. The availability of PPEs is in great shortage, and the doctors are working at a very high risk of contracting the coronavirus. So we are donating this money to the hospital to help them purchase some PPEs. So some kind of social work we are trying to do with the money collected. So now we would like to take questions here. So I think Prerak, we can
Yes, sir.
ask questions.
Yeah.
Any queries?
So good evening, everyone. So I think the question answer session has been opened by Dr. Ashutosh. So whatever doubts, whatever queries, whatever anything you want to add on to this or anything you want to ask, please go ahead, because this is the final session for that 3-day webinar. Definitely, sir will be available for all of you over a WhatsApp call, or maybe you can speak to him personally. But today, as of the session is commencing, please take up your doubts, whatever doubts you might have from session 1, session 2, or even if today's session something you want clarification on, please put your doubts ahead, because this will be the last session. And I would definitely want all of you to take a good advantage of this one. So please put up your questions now.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So this is Bhavika this side.
Yeah.
So many a time we get patient जो कि complain alpha S1 में नहीं करते, but on the buttock region. We called it as pseudo sciatica. मतलब in terms कि the piriformis is giving a sciatica like symptom. So from your side, what else is to be done for that case? We try to release that muscle also, but there is something I've seen on videos that you release that piriformis muscle sometimes as well.
Yeah, so this thing about the piriformis syndrome is not something which is very popular amongst the spine surgeons as such. So you can do whatever releases you do, but I definitely don't recommend. Sort of the buttock pain which these patients have is usually due to alpha S1 facet arthritis. So L4-5 facet arthritis gives rise to groin pain, and alpha S1 facet arthritis is always referred to the buttocks. So that's a well-known scientific fact. And for these patients, we usually give some exercises. You can give some stretching and those things. And worst come worst, people who have a lot of these pains, I do recommend them some alpha S1 facet block.